The Heart of Kindness. Before you go, make sure to like this story, subscribe for more, and tell me where you're from. I love seeing readers from all around the world. If you enjoy tales of unexpected love, humble hearts, and life-changing moments, this story is just the beginning. Stay with me for the next chapter, like, subscribe, watching from... Let's get started. The 35-year-old mechanic lowered himself beside the damaged bike, his hands steady as he inspected the loose chain. His workshop smelled of metal and engine oil, the familiar comfort of someone who lived by honest work. He didn't glance at the young woman standing nearby, assuming she was just another passerby seeking help. She stood quietly, her posture calm, but her eyes carrying a depth he couldn't yet understand. The 25-year-old woman had intentionally parked her luxury car around the corner far from sight. Today, she didn't want to be a billionaire. She wanted to be seen without the weight of her money. He adjusted the chain with practiced precision, his fingers moving confidently as if every machine spoke to him. She watched the way he worked, admiring the gentleness behind his strength. Kindness radiated from him in small, unspoken ways, especially in how he treated something as simple as a stranger's bike. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, observing him with a soft smile. For someone used to people bowing, flattering, or pretending, this man was a rare sight. He wasn't trying to impress her. He wasn't searching for anything from her. He simply cared about fixing the problem. He finally looked up, catching her gaze for a moment. There was no recognition, no hesitation, no shock. He didn't know her face from magazine covers or global business headlines. And strangely, it felt refreshing. His eyes only reflected sincerity, and she realized how long it had been since someone looked at her like that. He tightened the last bolt and spun the wheel to test the balance, the old bike responding as if waking from a long sleep. She stepped nearer, curiosity brightening her expression. His sleeves were rolled up, revealing arms marked with effort, dedication, and a life spent working instead of resting. She admired him not just for the skill he displayed, but for the calm focus he carried. There was something grounding about him, something that made the noisy world inside her heart settle. She had met people with wealth, fame, and influence, but rarely someone with such quiet dignity. He stood, wiping grease from his hands with a cloth tucked into his pocket. His voice was steady, warm, and without a trace of arrogance when he told her the bike was ready. She felt her heartbeat shift at the simplicity of his words, an unfamiliar softness spreading through her chest. She thanked him with a sincerity she hadn't used in years. He nodded, slightly embarrassed by the gratitude, as if kindness was something ordinary to him. She wanted to tell him who she really was, but something stopped her. She wanted him to see her, not the empire she owned. As he stepped back toward his workshop, the woman lingered a moment longer, watching him disappear among tools and sunlit dust. She felt something unexpected tug within her, a quiet hope that this wasn't the last time their paths would cross. Not by chance, but by choice. When he finished wiping the grease from his fingers, he noticed the way she looked at him. Soft, appreciative, almost relieved. She thanked him with a warmth she rarely allowed herself to show, the kind that came from being seen as a person and not a billionaire surrounded by people who wanted something from her. He nodded gently, not fully understanding why her gratitude felt different. To him, fixing a bike was a small gesture, something he did without expecting anything in return. But to her, the act carried a weight she couldn't put into words. It felt like honesty, like safety, like truth. She studied his face quietly, noticing the calm strength in his eyes. There was no judgment, no hidden motive, no curiosity about who she might be. He simply existed with a rare sincerity that made her chest tighten. For a moment, she wished he'd recognize her, just to see if he'd still treat her the same. He didn't, and somehow that made him even more remarkable. The mechanic stepped back, wiping his hands on a cloth as the sun from the workshop window traced warm lines across his shoulders. She felt strangely anchored watching him, as if something inside her had been wandering for years and finally found a place to rest, even if just for a moment. She reached for the bike, but paused when he offered help adjusting the seat. His touch remained gentle, respectful, and steady. She realized how rare it was to be around someone who didn't rush, didn't demand, didn't pretend. He simply cared about doing things right, whether the task was big or small. As she watched him work, she felt emotions she didn't expect: curiosity, admiration, peace. It had been a long time since anyone made her feel human instead of important. The world she lived in praised power, perfection, and image. But this man, without even trying, reminded her what kindness looked like. He stepped back again, nodding with satisfaction. She thanked him once more, her voice softer than before. She wanted to tell him the truth, that she wasn't just a woman with a broken bike, but someone lost in a world full of cold smiles and business deals. Someone searching for the kind of honesty he carried like a quiet flame. But she stayed silent, unsure if revealing herself would destroy the fragile sincerity between them. Instead, she offered him a small smile, one she hadn't used in years, and he returned it without hesitation. The moment felt warm, effortless, and strangely delicate. When she rode away, she found herself glancing back at the workshop. Something inside her whispered that this wasn't the end. Maybe fate had brought her here. Maybe destiny knew she needed someone like him. And maybe, just maybe, he needed someone like her too, someone who could see the goodness he didn't realize he carried.